Hello, gentle folks. This is Villa Lactea. First of all, thank you so much to all the lovely people who have stuck around and enjoyed my videos and shared your thoughts. I appreciate so much that I get to share these stories that I really do enjoy making, and I'm happy I could bring you a bit of joy to your day. So, I wanted to make this video to mark the 1-year anniversary of this channel as it is now. 1 year ago to this day, I made my first audio roleplay in the style that I do now. After that, I made 4 more audio roleplays, plus an attempt at a long-form ASMR video. I had only gotten around 20 subs at that point, but I was still having lots of fun, and if I do say so myself, I started to get a little bit better as a voice artist with each passing audio. And I wanted to keep making more, but a lot of life stuff had gotten in the way at that point. And as the months went by, I was even less certain when I would be able to make another one. Then, in May of this year, 2024, I found both the energy and the opportunity to start again. And I really am so glad I did. I don't know if it was because I had triggered something in the algorithm by suddenly coming back after a long time, or because of the change in the way I made thumbnails, but I had suddenly got a huge wave of attention. Things calmed down quite a bit by the 3rd audio in the season, but it became clear that those who did stick around were the ones who actually liked my stuff I was making. So it's been quite a journey, to say the least, and I am really happy that I have stayed with this project as long as I did, and I'm quite excited for the upcoming ideas I have in store. In this video, I kind of wanted to talk a bit more about me, about my process of making audios, how I got into making audios in the first place, and what kind of stuff I have planned for the future. So who is Villa Lactea? Well, that's me. I'm a trans femme Chicana audio artist. I use she, her pronouns, and my Spanish is kind of broken, but it's still my heritage language. Mi pronunciación cambia día a día. A veces me sale bien, a veces más o menos, y hay veces cuando mi cerebro solo no quiere programarse al español. I am, of course, a voice artist, but also a music artist. For a long time, actually, music was my main pursuit, and I legit thought I wanted to be a full-time musician in a way. However, I've always been interested in writing stories, I just could never finish one. I have a variety of other little interests as well. I love learning about world culture and linguistics, probably because linguists will be one of the only ones to say that my Spanish is unique and an interesting result of history and culture, rather than broken and unfortunate. I also love learning about astronomy, internet mysteries and cryptic horror, and cooking. I'm not much of a gamer, but a very good friend of mine introduced me to the Toby Fox games a couple years ago, and I fell in love with the stories, especially Deltarune. I don't really watch TV shows or anime, but boy do I love YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, here are some of my favorite ASMR comfort audio YouTubers that have been great inspirations to me. Skitty Cat, one of the most well-known voice artists out there. She has her very adorable and iconic voice, very much ASMR leaning, sweet, fun, and adorable kind of comfort stuff. A real staple of the ASMR genre. Salem Audio. Gotta be one of the most relaxing and calming voices I have ever heard in the ASMR genre. He leans into more of the fantasy, magic world, roleplay kind of themes. A lot of his stuff may be M for M, but even as a girl, I come back to his audios again and again. A Warm Coffee Mug. I discovered him a bit more recently. He's got much more wholesome, slice of life sort of themes. I very much enjoyed his Vampire Femboy Roommate series, which I definitely haven't listened to multiple times by now. He writes a lot of his own stuff, and is certainly an inspiration to me. Yudachi VA. Do you need to fall asleep and have happy dreams, like right now? Well, listen to their stuff. They lean more into the sleep aid realm of audio roleplays, with very heartwarming and cozy scenarios. Defrosted. There is something about the cadence and quirks of his voice that just makes sparkles happen in my brain. He makes adorable and flirty slice of life stuff, from roommate to best friend to partner roleplay audios. So it's pretty clear that I've somehow just subconsciously internalized a lot of his vibes and expressed them into my own audios. The most out of everyone I've mentioned, needless to say, a big inspiration of mine. And last, but certainly not least, Sarah's Fauna from Hololive. Apart from her charming personality as a streamer, Fauna is known for unscripted ASMR streams. However, she also has released a couple of scripted, or at least semi-scripted ASMR audio roleplays that really are something special. You can tell that she loves to be in character in the role she's playing, and she loves adding that subtle element of horror into an otherwise very calming and ear candy audio. Amazing top-tier stuff. Now, why the name Villa Lactea? Well, as I said, I love astronomy, I love languages, and I love metaphors and puns. Villa Lactea comes from the Spanish La Via Lactea, very similar to Latin, meaning the Milky Way. But I replaced villa with villa, as in a villa or a country house. Although, when I came up with the name 5 years ago, I thought villa just meant a small village, which it does mean in some contexts. So I guess my name in Spanish is something like the Milky House or the Dairy Village. But what I want to convey through the name is something more like the Village of the Milky Way. It's cozy, but also takes you on a little escape. Kind of like what I want to do with my audios. Okay, so time for a bit of story time. When I was in middle school, I very much liked writing as a way to escape. I was a very lonely and shy kid at the time. There was a period of my life where I didn't really have any friends and didn't know at all how to socialize, or felt like I could be an actual part of a wholesome friend group. I wrote a lot of stuff at that time, from lyrics to songs I wanted to make, to basically self-insert stories about how I wish my life was like, and the friends I wanted to have and the adventures I wanted to go on. I could never really finish a story though, either because I got bored or ran out of ideas for a particular plot line, but I kept making more stories with the same characters, or spin-off stories with some of those characters. In high school, I was part of a particular fandom, and I discovered fan fiction. I saw all the cool stuff people were making and said, hey, I want to do that. However, when I tried writing, the same thing happened. I could not finish a story. I was too much of a perfectionist and felt like all my stories sucked. But then, as I navigated the still relatively new site of YouTube, I discovered dramatic fanfiction readings, which was great because when I read fanfiction on its own, I would start reading aloud anyway because I just felt more immersed in the story that way, and it kept my attention more. I decided to give fanfiction reading a try as a YouTube channel, and I loved it. I got to do a bunch of voices, and each chapter was a new surprise. And there was some really good writers in this fandom, my goodness. However, this was around the time I would also get into music production, also as a part of this fandom. And after a couple years, making music just won out in my brain, probably because it was more of my own original work that made me feel more accomplished. So, for years, even after I left the fandom, music was still my main pursuit. However, I kept trying, and failing, to write a proper story. Now, let's fast forward to my later college years. I had reached another lonely point in my life, so it was only a matter of time before I discovered ASMR and comfort audios. A lot of the times, I couldn't easily fall asleep without some kind of ASMR. At the end of 2018, I reached a particular low point. I was also in a creative drought with music production, so I think these two things are what pushed me to try recording ASMR for myself. If anything, just to keep myself company. This is where I created the Villa Lactea channel, then called Villa Lactea ASMR, and I made this audio. The audio quality is pretty dodgy because I recorded it so close to the microphone in order for no one outside my room to hear me. Also, the binaural audio was just me panning the audio after the fact, manually in Logic. For what it was though, I was pretty happy with it. However, as is pretty clear, this wasn't something I tried again for a very long time. Every so often I would think about it, but eventually my musical spirit did come back, and so that became my main outlet again. Now, fast forward again to 2023. I was living with my partner at the time, and was roommates with an engaged couple that worked from home. It was a 3-bedroom apartment where we all agreed to make the master bedroom a common work office. One of these roommates happened to be a professional voice actress who worked from home. She had converted the closet in the master bedroom into her own booth, padded with soundproofing. However, the soundproofing wasn't perfect, and whenever she was really into a role, you could hear her muffled lines of going into battle or funny accents. It sounded like fun. It reminded me of the times I did fanfiction readings, and reminded me of all the fun audio roleplays I had listened to. So I thought I should give audio story recording another try. Not to mention, this roommate was trans as well, and I was very jealous of her very much passing feminine voice. So I thought doing voice work again would be an avenue for improving my own voice to be more feminine. However, the work office situation turned out to be a little less than ideal for me, because it meant that I couldn't really record anything unless no one was in the room, which was not very often because the other two worked from home. However, in August of that year, the couple were going out of town for a week. So, on a day that week, when my partner was at work, I had the whole apartment to myself. I went to my desk and relaunched the Villa Lactea channel and found some scripts on ASMR Scripthaven. And I made my first 2 audios. And let me tell you, I hadn't had more fun doing a new creative thing in a long time. I got to be another character for a little bit, in a different time and place. I'm normally very shy and to myself, but getting to be more expressive with my voice just felt like I was letting out a little spirit inside me that wanted to shine. So I kept doing it, eventually propping a small setup in my own closet once my roommates did come back. It was kind of fun to have this secret project that I didn't tell anyone else to but my partner. Of course, I didn't let the professional voice actress with a passing feminine voice know I was doing audio roleplays on YouTube. She eventually did find out though, but I was quickly able to brush it aside and it never came up again. Also, just for the record, the fact that the first audio roleplay I did was a roommate romance audio is a complete coincidence. I cannot stress that enough. From the beginning of this project, my goal was to get to a point where I could write original scripts and stories. However, I deeply appreciate the script writing hub that is r/ASMR Scripthaven on Reddit. Some very talented writers are on there, and it really is a place for anyone who wants to give script writing and script filling a go. Almost all my first audios were from ASMR Scripthaven, and getting to share the finished audios on there definitely helped with getting a little bit of exposure. I gave a go at writing an original script at the end of August last year, but it didn't really do as well, probably because I couldn't share it on ASMR Scripthaven since it wasn't a script from there. But also it was really short and there wasn't too much of a story. I try not to be so hard on myself about it, but it was a sign at the time that maybe I should just keep learning from other scriptwriters. More recently, I tried doing original scripts again. I think the Pierside Confessions audio was the first one where I felt like I got the vibe I wanted to hit. That slice of life, slightly dramatic, romantic kind of stuff. From that point, I got the confidence to keep going, and before I knew it, I was doing it every week. And making a script that would last longer than 6 minutes became easier as well. All those years of unfinished stories and half-baked ideas probably is just now starting to pay off. So I organize a lot of my stuff in Notion, which is free, although you gotta email them to remove the AI feature that they really push you to use. Most scripts start as just an idea or an unfinished script document, of which, of course, there are a lot. I'm a pretty escapist person, always kind of daydreaming and imagining something, whether I'm listening to music or a podcast, or when I'm at work when I'd rather be doing anything else. I'm imagining something visual in my head. Sometimes I come up with some very specific thoughts that make me feel something, a sense of adventure, yearning, thrill, or just happiness. I fixate on that thought until I have a chance to write it down, usually now in a little Notion page I have for ideas. Other times when I'm at home, I just open an empty page in Notion and just begin writing buzzwords in the title that will get my yearning side going. Taking my lover's hand by the ocean. A tavern in the woods where a cute elf girl lives. Your best friend who is also your roommate, who is also your wife, loves you. Real. If I really don't have any clear ideas, I also do this writing trick that pops up pretty often for combating writer's block. For like 10 or 15 minutes, just get to an empty page and start writing about the ideas you want to write about. No pauses, no backspace, spelling and grammatical errors be damned. This technique is explained by Natalie Goldberg in her book Writing Down the Bones as getting down your first thoughts, which are these very fleeting and raw ideas in your head that are inevitably filtered by wanting to sound writerly or smart or coherent. But if you use this non-stop writing technique as a warm-up before you start your story writing, much like an athlete does stretches and jogs to warm up before a big game, you'll be able to get these deep and real thoughts out much easier in your actual writing. She recommends you do this every day, which I really don't do admittedly, but it definitely is a great technique, even to just get me over the slump of procrastination. Since for a long time music was my main fixation, I already had Logic Pro as a recording program, so that is what I use for my audios. Things like EQ, compressing, and mixing are already things I've been doing with music, so it made getting into recording and editing voice audio a bit easier. I thought about making a section here about how I record scripts, but honestly, that could be its own separate video. And it's also a method I'm still tweaking almost every time I record. So, what's in line for season 3? Well, first of all, October is coming up, spooky month. I'm not into straight up horror stories with any violence or anything like that, but I do like more paranormal, supernatural stuff. I also don't mind doing like cute stuff for Halloween, like ghost girl themed ones or something a bit more tame. I also really want to do more audio drama stuff. Whereas audio roleplays involve a speaker and listener character, and the listener character has silent or implied lines, audio dramas don't have the listener role and tell a story through dialogue. Don't get me wrong, I still love doing audio roleplays. I just want to keep trying new kinds of storytelling. In fact, I would also like to try doing more of that half and half sort of thing that I did for my recent Puppy Girl audio, where the speaker goes between telling a story and having a conversation with the listener. Also, Spanglish? I played around with using Spanish with an audio a few months ago, and I kind of want to use more Spanish, but also Spanglish. And I'm talking Spanglish. Like, voy al downtown con mi bike para comprar some new shoes kind of Spanglish. I want to make some audios where I sprinkle those kind of lines in, because in the right context, that kind of speech sounds like home to me. I don't think my regular Spanish is good enough to do a full Spanish-only audio, but that's also an idea for the future. Also, live streams? I know it's a very common thing for voice artists on YouTube nowadays to have a companion streaming or VTuber project. And I'm not gonna lie, there's a bit of why would anyone watch my stuff when there are so many cooler people doing it? But I mean, that's what I thought about doing YouTube at all. Streaming sounds like fun, and I think as this channel hopefully grows over the next season, I think I'd be happy with giving streaming a try. Who knows what that looks like, but I can't wait. Anyway, that was a much longer video than I thought it was gonna be. Thank you again to everyone who has stuck around and enjoyed my stuff, and all the heartwarming things you have said. I'm excited for season 3, and I hope you are too. This has been Villa Lactea. I'll see you around.